slowly trickle in. So, yeah, this is going to be again a very casual session. It's behind the concept of a live stream, right? So you guys are more than welcome to tune in, ask questions in the chat, or raise your hand while I demo building an app from scratch. You guys feel free to drop out and come back in later. This is all recorded, so we're gonna be posting this on YouTube after the session, so you guys will have it on hand. But without further ado, let's get started. So, hey everyone, I am not Dimitri nor Luis. Um, my name is Josh. I run go-to-market and product operations here at MindStudio and for Remy. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces. I usually do kind of the behind the scenes work, make sure like a lot of these live streams are going as smoothly as possible and your experiences going as well as they can. But today I have the privilege of being in front of the camera and being able to spend time with you guys, just coding or vibe coding or building out an app with Remy from scratch. I know that a lot of you folks have been asking for this. Just some sit down time to see how we build apps here at MindStudio, as well as answer any questions live that you may have, or things that you've run into while building with Remy. With me, I have some team members also in the chat. So we got Lewis and Alex from the MindStudio team. Lewis will actually be hopping in and out of the actual like conversation. He's built so many apps so far with Remy, and so you know I'm pretty confident building with Remy, but I'm even more confident with Lewis building really cool, really complex, amazing apps. So he's gonna jump in here and there, show you guys some of the apps he's already built, and he can dive a little bit deeper into some of the integrations that I know you guys are interested in looking at, like Stripe and things like that. Um, yeah, well, this is gonna be again very casual. So, and it's the first one we're doing. So bear with me if you know we might seem a little hectic at times. We're figuring it out, a lot of the things out as we go. So feedback is much appreciated. Um, but yeah, I wanted to start off before we start get into building, just really quick framing Remy for you guys. I know we've been throwing out a lot of content out there about Remy, and the language around Remy has been changing just as quickly as how much Remy is developing, right? Every day, even I'm surprised with some of the new features that Sean, our CTO, has been building up. So, yeah, I think it'll be really helpful. I hope it's helpful for you guys if we just walk through how we at Mind Studio view Remy and why we think Remy is going to be a game-changing platform that is different from your typical thought of vibe coding like lovable replit cursor. Um, sounds good for the few faces that I see. Great. All right. Everyone can see my screen, right? Can I get some thumbs up? Yes. Amazing. So yeah, let's get started. You know, Remy is really exciting. I think there's two different things that I'm going to touch on with Remy. Remy as a product agent and Remy as an infrastructure. Okay. Let's start with even before that. Let's just talk about what is Remy, right? Remy, if for those of you who are new, is a product agent that can not only turn your idea into code, but actually before that, it turns your idea into a spec doc, right? What is a spec doc? It's a document that outlines, for PMs, it's a document that outlines the entire app or platform in plain English. So, think of it, I like to explain it as it's a Google Doc, let's say, with all the specs of the application, all the specs of the features, the capabilities of the app or the platform that you're building, all outlined in a very clear, organized manner. PRDs are usually used so that you can document what you're building, right, as a PM, so that you can then share with your engineering team, your design team, your business teams, so that everyone is aligned on what we're building here, right? And so what Remy does is takes your idea, your raw idea, and first starts with creating that document. From that document, we have several different agents that we'll show you and talk about more later, such as like the design agent, the QA agent, the coding agent, and all those agents are using that spec doc as the source of truth, right? So the reason we want to do this, to backtrack a little bit, is because we see a lot of vibe coding tools out there right now. You know, Lovable, Replit, Cursor, and they're amazing tools. Like I'm a user of Claude Code, Lovable especially, and I think those are great. Those are great to really just get your idea and turn it into code so that I can have a prototype or I can visualize what I'm trying to build. What I've quickly come to realize as I continue to try to build on one of these vibe coding platforms is that it runs into a lot of bugs and it breaks. The code breaks the more time you spend on it. And this maybe it is by design because of the fact that it's really just taking your instructions and ideas and just translating it into a code, right? And what does that do? It loses the context of what it previously built, right? The code base that it already has, because it's attaching new code onto an existing code base without having that deep context of what it's already built. And so what I've come to realize as I was building with some of these platforms is that I'm spending a lot more time debugging and I'm spending a lot of my tokens, a lot of my credits on these apps, um, using it up to actually fix these issues and bugs. So the reason we want to have this PRD or a spec doc is that whenever we ask for a new feature or capability or we want to change something in the app, um, Remy and the rest of the agent has the entire context. It always takes the previous context into consideration. And so you're not building out this Frankenstein of code. It's one seamless code base that, aligns with one another and it helps in mitigating as much, bugs or issues that might come as you guys are reiterating on building these apps. So yeah, that's kind of like
Sorry,
the TLDR.
is, sorry, is this Remy is the same as Remy developed by Google?
No, good question. So Remy, this is not the same Remy as the Remy you've heard from Google. Um, the Remy that Google refers to is an internal tool that they have. Remy actually, fun fact, our Remy came out 2 weeks before the Google one came out publicly. So just putting it out there, we came first, publicly at least. Anyways,
But it
but
is the
yeah.
same. It does the same thing, right?
I don't actually know. I don't think so. I will have to look into that actually.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. And yeah, feel free to drop questions in the chat or raise your hand using I believe it's under the React button at the bottom of the Zoom. Um, Great. Great. So let's move on. So that is in a nutshell what Remy is, right? And as you can see here, we have a coding agent, we have a design agent, we have roadmap agent, and we're going to show you all this live as I'm building out an app. The other thing that I do want to touch on is the fact that for those of you who have used MindStudio in the past, all those capabilities we've brought it into Remy. So think, 200 AI model connections. So you can connect or have your app connect with Gemini, Claude, Anthropic, you name it, it's there. Any new model drops, we are constantly looking and updating. So we always announce those on our LinkedIn as well as our other social media pages. So be on the lookout for that. Some of the other things are, in at MindStudio, which was a workflow automation platform, we've already integrated over 1,000 services with third-party apps. Fireflies, Calendly, Zapier, and all that. So we're bringing all that to Remy as well. So when you're building out Remy apps, based on what you're trying to build, you can already set up those integrations very seamlessly. No need to like try to configure your own API connections and things like that. And then one of the bigger things, Stripe integrations as well. And because we are bringing over the MindStudio SDK, we are still SOC 2 GDPR compliant. So no need to worry about, when you actually deploy your app, about security and trust and things like that. We do have a trust page, so we can share you that. Either maybe Lewis or Alex can share you that in the chat, or after the call, I can send an email blast out to you guys. Great. I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds with what Remy provides. We're going to actually look at that live. So I definitely want to move on to the next part before we build. And this one is kind of a new language that we've started to introduce. Some of you may have seen it, but oops, sorry, I'm going to mute whoever is.
Yeah.
Great. Great. This new language that we have, so far what we've talked about Remy is Remy as a product manager agent, right? Remy as a product agent, an agent that then facilitates the rest of the other agents that we have to build you the full stack application. The other angle that I want to talk about is the infrastructure. What makes Remy so unique from existing, like why not use Claude Code to build full stack apps, right? Claude Code is also a really great tool, right? And I'm sure you've seen on like social media of all these amazing games, these software, these SaaS products that people have built with Claude. And I don't refute that at all, but I think there is a pain point with a lot of these app building platforms is that they're trying to build this whole AI app building tool on top of the way that we as humans have done it. And what that means is for those of you who built products before, you know, we have teams of engineers, we have teams of designers, we have teams of like biz ops, biz strategy, and each of these teams then go out and they have to subscribe to this tool and that tool. If you're a backend engineer, you're looking at Vercel, you're looking at, I don't know, like Sentry and Plausible for analytics. You're looking into Supabase for database integrations, and then for design you have to go into Figma. And so there's so many different SaaS products out there that are really helpful when the human is actually building it out, because we think in a way, or we need these tools, and then we have to connect them all back into our app. That is the way that infrastructure works right now when you're building a full stack application. That's the whole tech stack, right? And we can see here, there's a lot of things to consider, and all of these are different API connections or different third-party apps that we're connecting to create this one cohesive app. So, OAuth, we're talking about like Cloudflare, Posthog, sending emails requires like, connections with your Gmail or Outlook and things like that. Sentry for yeah, Sentry for like analytics and recording like bugs and issues, all that stuff. And you can see it more in this website of all the things that you would need to consider when you're trying to create a production grade application. The thing about current vibe coding tools or like Claude Code is that, yes, you can make those integrations yourself. You could ask Claude, hey, connect me with Vercel. I want to connect my app to Vercel. What happens afterwards? It's still your responsibility to go to Vercel, and Claude will tell you the exact same thing. It'll give you a link to Vercel. It'll tell you, hey, create a login, give me the API keys, and let's configure it from there. And then I can try to connect with your Vercel account and then let you know how to set up Vercel, right? And so there's still a lot of manual work that the human side has to do, right? When you're trying to connect. The thing about Remy is that everything we just listed out, see these like OAuth, these Cloudflare, Sentry, Datadog, Zapier, Okta, all those features we've included into Remy. So what does that really mean if we take a step back is that you don't ever have to leave Remy to have all the full tech stack to build your app, right? And so that not only, first and foremost, that saves a lot of your subscription costs, right? Even here in, just this example, you're saving $786 a month, let's say, and that's not even considering the rest of these stacks that we need to subscribe to. And it might not seem like a lot at the moment, but you blow it up to a year's time, 2 3 years time, it becomes more and more as you continue to add on more subscriptions, right? And so that's one benefit of no longer going into these third party apps to create these subscriptions and then having to pay for each and every one of them. The other thing is actually that if you think about it, if let's say within this tech stack, Cloudflare goes down, right? We had that whole incident where Cloudflare, um, let's say Cloudflare goes down, then another app like Datadog isn't affected necessarily directly, but it's still your app can't run, right? It loses context. They all work very independently from one another. Because Remy has all of these features, all of these capabilities, all these tech stack all in one platform, it actually has that context of where is the barrier coming from? Where is the latency coming from? Where is the issue coming from? Um, I'm gonna mute someone. Great. So that in a nutshell is the infrastructure aspect of Remy. And I can get deep into the weeds of it, of what, continuing to explain like why we think and why we have this conviction that this is the new way of building. Um, because we provide this all, and it's not for the human engineer, right? It's built, this infrastructure is built for um, our agents. So it's a way for agents to better utilize, and rather than having the humans utilize it. So that's my spiel so far. I'll stop for a sec. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to raise your hand, and I will do my best to answer them. Looks like Karen had a question. Does Remy provide a view of what tech stack components it has used in a build? A view of what tech stack. Yes. So yeah, I'll show you later. You can kind of get into quote unquote the back end of Remy, right, or the application you built on Remy, and you can follow it there. Some of the things, yeah, you can see it all, and you can actually download the entire code base as well. So yeah, I'll walk you through that in just a bit. What is underlying LLM? So yeah, the underlying LLM that's being used right now, we're using Claude. Um, but as of a week and a half ago, you can actually go into the settings of your Remy and choose whatever other models that you want. So that's really exciting. We do highly suggest for now, like if to opt for Claude as the default, just because that is the one we've tested so far when we've been building out Remy. But that being said, if if you have a very strong conviction that you're a fan of OpenAI or something else, feel free to change it for your account. Um, yes, and you can still bring in your own API keys for these LLM models. So yeah, I see that Alex just posted a screenshot. Yeah, there you can also put in your own LLM API, so you can bring in your own subscription. Um, Great. What about the cost of Claude tokens? Yeah, that's also a good question, especially for the newer folks. People who've been at MindStudio will also know this, but we do not. So what we do is obviously there's token costs when you're running these LLMs, right? Either on Remy or using a feature that uses LLM models in the background, right? And what we do is we are kind of like that middleman where we are transferring that token cost from you back to the LLM provider. What this means is, let's say I run Remy to build an app and the first run costed me like $60. That is going to come out of your account's credit balance or token balance, right? So you are responsible for keeping that balance or that wallet topped off. We do not upcharge you for that cost. We directly send all of that to the LLM provider. So just keep that in mind that, we're not making anything out of the token credits and anything. We're just simply being the middleman that passes the credit cost along to the LLM provider. What we like to compare it to is like when you're paying for electricity, right? You're you're paying for the electricity company, and then every month you have this electricity bill, and that kind of is equates to what you're doing with paying for token costs. Let's see. Any other questions so far before I move on? Lewis, is there any other questions that you're seeing that I should answer live, or do you have it all handled?
I pretty much have it handled. I don't think someone is asking, is there a cost for the custom domain features? I don't believe there is an
Nope.
additional cost.
Yeah, there's no additional cost. We'll show you that as well. You can actually now put in your own domain for your app. So you don't, typically when Remy first came out, you had like your app name .msagent.ai. Now, if you have a domain, you can actually put that in, and we'll show you how to do that. Yes, Chris.
Yeah, so that question was mine actually on the custom domain stuff because I've been waiting for that for a while because you can't actually make anything sort of production ready without the custom domain. I guess the other thing was the going back to the costs. So let's say it's just a landing page, for example. There's no
Hmm.
element, there's no modeled sort of requirement needed there because I'm not actually doing anything with the LLM. Is there, so the cost for that landing page, would it just
Hmm.
be the subscription cost to MindStudio on and no other costs that would come through if you took it down
Well,
to just basically a landing page?
well, if you're still building a landing page using AI agent, running the AI agent will still cost you tokens, right? So think even in Claude Code or Lovable, right? Let's say I go on Claude Code and say, "Hey, spin up a landing page for me, like a very static landing page." It'll still require you to use tokens to actually have Claude Code code that out for you, right? So it's in a very similar manner. If you're asking Remy to build you a landing page, you're actually using Remy, and what is Remy built on or is powered on is, let's say, Claude, right? And so you're going to be charged for running that, if that makes sense.
Right. So say you had, I don't know, 25,000 people using it, just going to your landing page. Does that mean there's a cost for every view?
Nope. So yeah, once Remy, like for this example, once Remy has built your landing page, and you're not incorporating any like LLM features or AI features into your landing page, then yeah, there's absolutely no cost for your users or your
Great.
viewers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I get. So the initial dev cost, yeah, there's a charge. Once it's built it and deployed, no additional cost, just a monthly subscription to MindStudio.
exactly.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. Great. Yeah, well, let's move on. If there's any other questions, feel free to drop it in the chat and I will stop periodically. We're definitely gonna have some downtime while Remy's thinking. So let's jump into the demo. So first we're gonna go into MindStudio, and this is something that we are gonna slowly and as you're seeing split out. So you'll be soon have your own Remy page. You're gonna create a new app here at the top. And while that loads, actually, I want to show you guys some of the things in your Remy dash or your Remy homepage, right? So here you can see that you have a publish section and a draft section. Published are all the apps that went live or that I've gone live with. Usage and cost. This is where you have the balance for your token spend, right? So I have like in this case, I have $1,000 in my quote unquote wallet, and this is where uh, the money gets taken out to actually spend on these LLM runs. And you can yeah, you can also see where that's being run. You can see that like each and individual runs where the cost is actually being spent. And yeah, you can also make connections here. This is something we're gonna talk about in a bit, so I'm just gonna gloss over this. But this is where you can also connect to your Stripe or your credit card, and so you can always have it topped off. You can also set it for automatically topping off your credit if the cost this balance goes below a certain amount. Great. And then workspace settings, I'm not going to get too much into that, but you can adjust this as you need. This is where you've configured like the plans and the payment methods for your subscription to MindStudio. Great. So when you start a new app on Remy, this is the first page that you are going to get. And for today, what we're going to build is actually a version of what I built in the past that I use for my day-to-day job, right? I work in go-to-market and growth, and something that has been very important for us has been content creator partnerships, right? And how we've been doing this operationally is we created a Notion table, and we've been manually looking for content creators, just scrolling through Instagram, TikTok, and then manually inputting that into the table. Once they respond, or once we've signed a contract with them, we then set the status to a new status. And it's very cumbersome, right? It's a lot of work, especially when I'm starting to reach out to 50 content creators at a time, and I get lost in the weeds of, oh, what's the progress for this person and what's the progress for that. So I actually built kind of like a CRM for content creator, as well as kind of like a project management tool. And this is something that we're going to rebuild in this call. So you're going to see this is the board, but you can also keep track of budget, how much you're spending on content creators per content creators. You can, I haven't tested this part out yet, but we can test it out in a bit. You can connect with your email so that it also tracks all your emails with the content creators. You have a list of all the content creators in your database, as well as a discovery feature. So if I want to find like personal finance YouTubers with 50K followers and hit search, it's gonna give me a list of all these creators. Sorry, I think this timed out. So yeah, we're gonna build that. What you're gonna start by doing is start with your idea. Just throw in your idea, your prompt, and typically what we get asked is, what type of prompt works best with Remy? Do I have to give it a full PRD that I wrote first, or can I just give it a few lines? There's no right answer. We're not a one-shot prompt tool, right? We want you to give Remy the idea, and Remy's going to come back with you with questions. We want you to read the spec doc and be able to make edits to it. So it's not going to be, hey, I'm going to put one prompt in and expect everything to work instantaneously. That is not how a true production grade app works. And so, yeah, just keep that in mind. For this use case, you can also actually do record voice. So you could do a push to talk. So if I hold this down, I can do kind of like how you can do it with Whisperflow. And for this demo, I already wrote out a prompt. So I'm just going to paste that in here. And yeah, this prompt is very, 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 what is it? I lost my train of thought. This prompt is very long. I understand that. But typically when I have built other apps with Remy, I've actually given it maybe less than a paragraph long of a prompt. I said, hey, this is my idea. It's still a little vague or foggy in my mind too. Ask me a bunch of questions so that we could actually get this to a concrete vision, right? And so, yeah, play around with it. I highly suggest you try different types of prompting. This again is not supposed to be a one-shot prompt, right? So even if I write something this detailed, I'm gonna expect Remy to push back to me. I'm gonna expect Remy to ask me questions. I'm gonna expect to go on the spec doc and make changes as I go. But yeah, we're gonna run that first, and we're gonna see what Remy comes back with. Typically, what you'll notice if you've built with Remy already is that yeah, Remy's gonna take some time to think, and Remy is gonna need some time to actually start iterating and create that first kind of planning doc, right? So during this time, um, you can you can think about your other apps. I've had moments where I had three different tabs open and I was building three different apps at the same time. Do I suggest that? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. But it was pretty cool to see. I had all three apps at different stages of it, so um, it was nice to continue to work on something and just jump off in and out of things. But while we wait for this, I do want to actually spend time showing you some of the other apps that I built with Remy, and maybe we can dive into some of the features of Remy so that we don't have to just twiddle our thumbs here and wait. So this is what you'll see once Remy is done thinking. Oh, actually, hold that thought. Let's actually go to see what Remy has asked me. So based on this prompt, Remy has come back and is asking me a little bit for deeper questions so that it can scope properly what it's trying to build. How do you want to scope the first version? Build everything in V1, foundation first, spine only. For this demo's sake, let's just do the foundation, right? Is a deal always one creator or can a campaign bundle several? So I would say, yeah, I want one deal equals one creator. After a deal post, which performance numbers actually matter to you? Super important, especially for someone who's working in analytics as well. I think views and impressions are important, engagement, likes, maybe not so much comments or saves. Promo code redemption is huge, and conversion sales, right? So these are some of the things that Remy has suggested that I didn't even think about, like calculated CPM over a cost per view. If there's any other metrics that you want, you could also ask Remy to include that in this other box. For video and social creators, what deliverable types should be available? Yeah, this is really up to you. For us, we are focused on short content, short form content. So I'm going to do YouTube, Instagram Reel, TikTok video. What relationship statuses should a creator carry? So yeah, this looks like this is kind of like creating that pipeline statuses. Definitely want new prospect, in conversation, active, on hold. What should the demo team be? This shapes the seed data so it feels like yours. The dozen daily will be built around this, be specific. So yeah, who should the demo team be? Let's say an AI startup looking to launch their product and wants to increase product use. Obviously, when I'm building an actual app, I would probably frame that a lot better. Great. Okay, so now Remy's back to thinking, right? In the meantime, let me show you with one of the apps that I already built. Let me show you some of the features that you'll see once Remy has gone through the initial thinking. So this is back again to the roster app, and here what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through each tab, and I'm gonna explain like what each tab includes. So the agents tab. Agent tab is very cool. If you're not technical like me, it could seem very overwhelming at first, but it's very transparent. It shows you exactly each step that Remy is taking at the moment to build out the app, right? So you can see here, if we go all the way to the beginning, you're reading the files, it's searching for the code, and you can see the actual details on the side page here so that, if you are more technical and you want to follow along on what's happening, you can actually follow along. So Remy is reading the spec here, it's running commands. And then as you can see here, a lot of them is going to be like check code or edit file, read the spec, but there's some steps here like consulting the design agent, right? So this, I think, shows what the process of Remy as a product agent does. Remy first gives instructions of what it's trying to achieve. From there, it sends it to the design agent. The design agent is thinking and it outlines its thought process, and then it presents kind of a result in a very similar way that a design team would do. You're handing off a task to the design agent. Design agent comes back. Same with, we have like a QA agent, right? And it's going to take a screenshot of the app that it created to make sure that everything looks good in terms of aesthetics or the actual setup. You could see here the actual, like you could see Remy, and this is one of my favorite features, is you see Remy actually working the application. It's QAing, it's making sure the clicks work, that all the navigations are properly mapped, things like that. And yeah, you can also see query database. We'll walk into this in just a bit as well. So yeah, this shows, and as we ask for new instructions, you're going to see new logs come up. So yeah, preview is where you actually see the app. So this is the app that I built called Roster for the content creators. And right now, this is all kind of dummy data that I like to call it. So it's running a scenario for me. It's showing me what it would look like if data was filled in. This allows me to check all the functionalities, all the features, make sure that it works, and also just be able to visualize it, right? Instead of just taking it word for word based on a spec doc. The really neat thing about Remy here is that you can actually use this lasso tool or the notes tool to highlight a specific part in your app and ask for changes being made, right? So let's say, I don't know, I don't like that it's calling it a pipeline, right? In the most basic iteration, rename this to board, right? And you can click sync, and based on where you've highlighted, Remy is gonna start making the changes. I'm gonna stop that run because I actually want to call it the pipeline. But yeah, the other cool thing is you can also see it in different features. So you can see it as a full screen, desktop mode, and also mobile mode. So obviously, this app in particular is not made for mobile, but if I were to create an app that is mobile, which I'll show you later, it'll also optimize like that. What's really cool as well is, I believe, yeah, you could actually preview it on your device as well. So, if you have a phone, scan the QR code and it'll open the web app for you. And a surprising feature that I don't know how many of you guys will know this is you can actually control the app on your phone. So I think that's pretty neat. Like you can actually toggle on your phone and it'll live show the movement you're making here. So you can see here that it's actually mirroring, right? That's the actual language. It's called mirroring. But I'm using my phone right now for the mic, so I will not be able to show that. Okay, so this is the bread and butter of Remy. We have exactly what we've been talking about with spec-driven development. What Remy is going to do once it's created that plan for you is create this spec doc. And so you can see here that it outlines exactly every feature, every capability that the app has. All of this doc is editable, so you can make edits to it, and then you can sync it up so that Remy can adjust the code base based on the changes that you've made in this document. Think of it again like a Google Doc that you're sharing with a teammate, and you've made changes to the Google Doc, and your engineer sees that and will make the changes for you. Remy is kind of like that. I read through the spec doc, I read it, and then makes changes to it, and Remy will understand those changes and make the changes themselves. So what's really helpful for me as a non-technical person is the fact that I always have an understanding of how Remy is understanding the app, right? So if there's something that is misaligned, I can clarify, and now I have that confidence that Remy actually knows what the direction it should go to build. Similar with a lot of like Google Doc comments, we have a lot of these notes on the side, and these get a little bit more technical, right? So if you are a little bit more interested in the technical build out of each of these features or capabilities, these are also editable. So you can go into it, click edit, and then make the changes, save it, and sync it up again. So yeah, this is the spec doc, and depending on how complex your app is, you might have more than one spec document, right? And you can obviously toggle through them, read through them. Highly recommend doing a thorough pass through. And I think this is really important, right? When you're building AI app, it's not you're just leaving it all to AI. There's still that importance of human in the loop, making sure that the app is being built in the way that you want it to. What's really cool is we've seen the design agent, and what the design agent does is it actually creates this whole brand portfolio for you. So I'm sure it's doing that right now with the new app, as we can see here. What I just did is Remy wrote me an initial plan. So this is kind of like, hey, is this the direction that you want it to go? Is this is the plan that I have to build the app? And so based on this plan, it's going to start writing the spec in the way that I showed you, and then it's going to now go to the design agent as well and create the design portfolio. So what is the design portfolio? The design agent covers everything from the thematic colors of the app based on kind of like the direction that I want to take it. So for this case, it's going to be a professional CRM. And so it's doing a lot of these more muted colors that give off a more professional vibe. I think in the prompt, I also said, hey, I wanted to emulate like Notion design, so minimalistic and clean. And so that's why it's chose these gray, white, black palettes. It's going to also give me a typography. So it's going to give me this markdown of all the different font sizes, the fonts, and you can also make changes to that as well. Visual identity. So it's almost like a spec doc. It gives me a document of how Remy foresees the visual cues for my application, right? And again, these are all editable, and you can sync it up. And so the design agent will go back and reiterate its designs on it. And you can see here, it also has voice and terminology. So how do we want to create the language around the instructions, let's say in the onboarding of the app, or the way that it words different features or tools that are actually like user facing. But yeah, and then the final thing before I stop and take some questions is the roadmap feature and the pitch deck. I saved this for last in this section because I think it's pretty neat, and I really want to wow you guys, especially the newer people. What the roadmap is it's literally a roadmap. It gives you ideas and suggestions and recommendations of what other features would be good for your application, right? So in this case, it has multiple lanes. So it categorizes each roadmap based on kind of like the themes that it's found. And I can actually go into each of them, read through the details, and then ask for it to build. Or I go back and I can look at some of the other things. So for example, let's look at this one. It's suggesting that I have logins and roles. So I can give each team member their own account with individual attribution. I can make changes to this suggestion so that I make sure that the roadmap build will actually build in the way that I want it to. And then finally, with every app that Remy builds, it's actually going to build you a pitch deck. So this is something that you can share to people. People will have public access, and this is such a fun feature. I'm so glad that we have this. It's not a static presentation. It's very well animated. It has the context of the entire app because this is built based on the spec doc. And so, it creates these very aesthetic, very clean pitch decks for you that, yeah, again, you can share it instantaneously with people. This is a great way for me when I share my apps to people of, hey, rather than hearing me talk, let me just give you this quick presentation and you can read through it. It's going to be intuitive. It's going to give you the facts. It's going to give you kind of like this call to action as well. And you can also make edits to this by asking Remy on the side. All right, I'm gonna pause here. I spoke a lot, so I appreciate you guys sticking along and staying along. So if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hands or drop it in the chat, and I'll try my best to answer them. Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, the presentation feature is amazing. Is the underlying code portable? Yes. So you can actually go to the dashboard. So sorry, for context, this is not the sandbox for building an app. Okay, it's not the same page as this. Every app has a separate dashboard, and I'll walk you guys through this in a bit. But to answer your question, yes, this code is portable. You can actually I believe it's here. Yeah, download the database or download the code base as well. Any other questions? Yes, Karen.
I think you might have answered it, but your roster app that you built, Josh, I have a use case very similar to that. What was your build cost on the roster?
Great question. Let's check that right now. So in the process tab, which I was going to talk about in a bit, but this is a great segue. You can actually see the usage and cost, right? So for me, it looks like I think this is actually wrong. Let me double check with you. I built this before we built out all these features, so this might be outdated. But if I remember correctly, I think my initial build was probably around 100, 120. But that's also because I was iterating a lot on like specific requests for different features. So I think it might have gone up maybe like 230. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get a little scared by that price. Oh my gosh, that's expensive. Lovable is like $50 to create. But when you're thinking about like the complex features that it's actually building out, I think 230 is nothing comparable to the amount of time I'm saving with keeping track of and managing all these content creators and keeping track of the financials as well. So yeah,
So this
long-winded question. Answer.
On this view, we're looking at the inference that's running as the app runs. So whatever the app is doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
okay, cool.
Let me see if I can find you actually a different one that might be a little bit more robust. This one is pretty empty, right? But basically it will show you the development cost of each of your agents, not just Remy. So let me try to pull it up, but you'll also see like a design agent, a separate design agent cost. And so you can keep track of which agents are taking up a lot of the costs and things like that. Also, let's see. Okay, so now it's consulting the design agent. So the design agent is thinking out loud and it will come back to us with a result soon. Any other questions? Louis, are there any other questions that you think I should answer live? Sorry, I'm losing all the questions in the chat.
So far, Alex and I have been able to keep up pretty well. To answer one question, portability, you mean like you doing development on a mobile device, is Marcus asking? And I don't believe you can build Remy on a mobile device.
Yes. Yeah, you can create mobile apps with Remy, but you cannot create. Yeah, I don't believe you can actually build it out on mobile.
Yeah. And Remy does great web responsive, like using it on for use in a mobile device.
Exactly. Maybe this is for another session in the future, but I would love to be able to show you guys like my actual share my phone screen and show you how you can how seamless a Remy app on mobile looks. All Remy apps are built as a web app, right? It's not like your typical app store application. That being said, what's really neat with I believe Android and iPhone has this, but if I open an app on Safari on my iPhone, I can actually add that web page to my home screen, right? And it just looks like an app, right? Um, the neat trick when you're building it out on Remy is to tell Remy, hey, this is a mobile app. Put a PWA shell around it. And what a PWA shell is basically it's this kind of like shell that wraps around the app to make it feel more like a mobile app. So what that means is like when I click on the app on my phone, it's gonna have this more like seamless transition. It's gonna optimize for opening up these applications on your mobile device. So again, I'll drop it in the chat, but it's called PWA Shell. Feel free to read more into it, but I think this is a great alternative. I'm a big fan of this, especially because you know if I were to go through the actual app store, not only is it like 30% commission that I have to pay to Apple, but then you have to go through some rigorous like approvals and things like that. So it takes a lot of time to actually deploy an app to the app store. But we can host and use the app right in our MindStudio, Remy. Yes, and yes, you can host and use the app right in your Remy account. You can share the domain to people, and they can open it up, and it'll show you the 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 app for them that they can use. Can we monetize the app? Yes. Lewis, I think this might be a good time if you want to show the Stripe integration. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, sure. Let me share my screen. Let's see if I can share my screen. Am I co-host?
I can make you host.
Oh, okay. Okay, so let me try sharing my screen. Can folks see my screen? Hopefully. Can thumbs up? See my screen? Okay, yeah.
If you don't see the screen, there's a tab at the top of your Zoom, and it should say Lewis's screen.
Yeah. So what we're looking at is an app that I built called Counterpoint. And all this does is if you are a founder and you are wanting to do competitive landscape analysis, strategic analysis on what competition do you have, this app is for you. So here I have a document that I used to do a competitive analysis on a fake new CRM that I'm bringing to the market. And here you can see it's a really long, rich document. But that's not the reason why I'm showing it to you. What you can do is even enhance this more by doing more analyses with it. Let me move this chat window out of the way here. And you can do deeper commissions on any one of these separate topics. But the way that this app is set up is that you have to subscribe to it. You get one free use of this brief, and then you have to subscribe to it. Now here at the top, we see subscribe. And now when you were designing this, you could design this however you want to. You could design this for per instance of using your app or as a subscription. So this is just how I designed this for this app. And let's say I wanted to subscribe, and you let the individual know it's going to cost you $200 a month. You can make as many of these briefs as you want. And it opens a checkout, and now it is opening with the Stripe integration. And what normally would do is if you've just opened this, Link will send you a text message to verify that it's you, but you would then enter your credit card and then click subscribe. And you can even add promotion codes. So for example, I secretly gave the internal MindStudio team a code that they could use this app for free. And you can build promotion codes into this, and it could give you a percentage off like either 20% off or 100% off, whatever. So you could do all kinds of things. What you need to do is you need to create your own Stripe account. You need to get your Stripe API, API key. It will have both a client key and a secret key. Now, one thing that is totally awesome about Remy is I've never done this before with Remy before doing it with this app. Remy is great at hand-holding you through that process. Literally, you just chat with Remy, and like you see Josh interacting in the chat window with his app, and ask it, what do I need to do? Guide me through this. And what Remy does is it finds the public Stripe documentation and walks you through it. And at particular times, it will ask you, okay, this is where you need to put this information, that information. So one thing that's also really awesome about Remy is Remy will always securely store any API keys that you have. And there are two different ways. Remy, there's a section in the dashboard, which I don't have. Actually, I do have this page open here. Let me come back over here. And there's this section called secrets. And here you can see these are the secrets for this Remy app using Stripe. And it will store these securely. Or all you need to do, it's going to take a moment, I think, to reload this sandbox. There we go. Or all you need to do is give your Stripe API key to Remy in the chat, and it will store it for you. And that's what I did when doing this. So don't feel intimidated by experimenting with Stripe. One thing that's really awesome about Stripe is it has its own testing sandbox. So when you are building this in dev, when I say dev, development, but before you're publishing it, then you can test this in Stripe and make sure that it works correctly. And in all the permutations, your edge cases, your 80% cases, which is what most people will do, and then the edge cases are the 20% cases. Like, for example, here's one case where I may say, okay, I want to go back. And the app is now smart enough to realize, okay, great, no payments were filed. You're still using the free plan. If you want to, now you're going to have to, if you want to continue building this out, now you're going to have to pay for it, as an example. And all of this you do using Remy, case by case, as you need for your app. Any high-level questions I could perhaps answer? I know I didn't show anything about Stripe itself. What does Stripe work with? Stripe is its own company, if I understand your question, James. So Stripe is a service that many companies, enterprise companies, will integrate with for all their payments. And many times it happens totally on the back end, and we don't ever see it. And Chris has a question.
Yeah, can you see me?
No, sorry, I can't. Oh, yeah, I see you. Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, on the Stripe side of things, if you've got, how does it manage subscription? Say if you wanted a weekly subscription, a monthly subscription, a quarterly subscription, how does Remy manage all of that within the application under a admin ID, or do you have to manage it via Stripe, or is it a combination of both?
It is a combination of both. So when you think about, I want to this is a monthly subscription, or you could do an annual subscription. You configure that in Stripe, and then you tell Remy, this is the pricing plan for this app, and you point Remy to the testing sandbox, and Stripe provides API keys for testing and for production. So when you are first doing testing in Stripe testing sandbox, it will provide you an API key. You copy that API key and give it to Remy, and then you test it there for all of your cases there. But yeah, that completely varies based on your Remy use case.
Okay, so if you've got you could end up with a list of weekly subscribers, monthly subscribers, and um, do the individuals get to manage their own subscriptions? Like, they can cancel within the app.
Yes, they can cancel within the Remy app. So, and that's something that you have to test. But yes, someone could be coming here. I don't have an instance here. For me to actually do this, this is live in production.
Right.
So I would have to use my own real credit card to subscribe. But then I could cancel, and it's like any other instance with Stripe, meaning that you get prorated for the duration of that period. So if it was monthly, and I canceled a week into that subscription, then I get prorated the last 3 weeks or what have you. So all of that is like case by case basis.
Okay. All right.
Great. Thanks, Lewis. If you don't mind,
I'll stop sharing, and
yeah.
I need to
Could you also make me host again?
Yeah, let me see. How do I do that?
At the bottom, if you go to the participants list,
Yes.
yeah, go to my name, put more, and I could reclaim host actually.
Awesome. Great. There you go.
Sweet. Great. Let me share my screen again. I think there's a lot of these questions that we'll be able to answer covering the final 2 tabs that we haven't walked through yet. So can everyone see my screen again? Great. Cool. So we've walked over through the agents tab, the preview tab, and the spec tab, right? The final 2 tabs are the code and the processes tab. And right now, just to keep you guys in the loop, it's still running. It's now at the point of going in through the MindStudio SDK agent, writing the files. So it's going to take a little bit longer, but in the meantime, let's go back to these tabs. So the code tab shows all the code that Remy has built, or our coding agent under Remy has built. So if you are more technical, you are more than welcome to go in and you can see exactly how it's set up everything. You have the roadmap folder, you have the tables folder for your databases and all that. I'm not going to go too much into this just because I'm also not the most technical guy, but if you are interested, maybe we can bring in one of our more engineering members in a future session to walk you through more of these technical processes. The other thing is databases. So yeah, something I don't remember if I actually covered what Remy provides, right? Remy builds you a full stack application. And when I say full stack, I mean the front end, back end, OAuth database, right? And that was my whole spiel about the AI infrastructure. We provide all those stacks or all those parts in the tech stack so that you don't actually have to go out and connect to a database, right? Because you can actually have your database all here. And for each user and all that. And something with the preview that I showed you, you can actually run scenarios. So, once Remy has created this app for me, I don't have to look at some blank app with no data. You can ask it to create multiple different types of scenarios. So whether you want to try going through the onboarding, or you're already an active user, so you already have like some data that's fit in to this. But yeah, I won't talk too much about that. Something else is the roles. So Remy, right now, this app does not have roles. And what roles are is, let's say you have an app that includes an admin versus a user. You can actually toggle between the different roles so that you can test out yourself as all the roles and make sure that there's everything runs smoothly as well. Finally, the processes tab. I showed you this a little bit, but this is where you can follow the usage and cost. So you can see here that this app that I built, and I'll show you a demo in a bit, costed me $67. And you can see where which agents it costed a certain amount. So like Remy, it costed like $1 here, 20 cents here. but then you could see that there's compaction costs, there's designer costs, and so it breaks it out so you have a very clear understanding of how it's being used. Um, this is where you can adjust the model for your Remy. So this is also a good way to see all the different areas that LLM is being used. So you can change it. Right now it's 4.8 Opus, but let's say maybe for, I don't know, image generation, I prefer using GPT Image Latest, which is personally my favorite. And yeah, for those who've used MindStudio in the past, this is a very familiar screen, right? We provide all these connections to all these LLM models, and we are on enterprise partnership with all these models, which is why you don't have to bring in your own subscription in order to connect with these agents. And so, honestly, I think that is a big deal still with Remy, is the fact that you can use any of these LLMs and you only pay for the times that you're actually running them, right? You're not actually having to subscribe to Claude. You're not actually having to subscribe to OpenAI, and then maybe you use it, maybe you don't. I think there's a question.
Josh, I have a question. Can you
Yes.
hear me? Hi.
Hello. Hi.
This is Lagaya. I heard you say that because MindStudio has these enterprise partnerships with these LLMs, we're able to use them, at cost. But also when you buy, tokens from these other companies, you get, from what I understand, you get a discount, right? If you the more tokens you
Mm-hmm.
buy, the cheaper
Mm-hmm.
it is for you. So does that
Yeah.
mean we are also getting a really good deal on this inference through MindStudio?
That's a great question. I actually don't know if they have that all the way to the enterprise. I want to say that they have a set pricing for enterprise that's a little bit different from these discounted pricing that they offer for other subscriptions. But don't quote me on that. That's something that I will check and get back to you and confirm. Um, Yeah, great question. And yeah, you can also request a model. Our engineering team is constantly looking out for the newest model drop. So with Fable, the recent drop, within 2 hours we had that up. And so rest assured, we are doing our best to keep up to date with all these new LLMs that are coming through. The other things that you can see, and these are a little bit more technical again, is that you can keep track of what Remy is doing. You can look at the methods. For those of you who are interested in these backend contracts, you can look at the browser console and all these other processes that I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds with. But feel free to, as you're building out your apps, go through and check out what Remy is actually doing to build out the apps. You can actually create a terminal within Remy as well. So if you are more terminal friendly, I highly recommend to try that out as well. Before I move on, I really want to just quickly show you this app that I built. I think this is a good example of something that I've built. If you've heard of Splitwise, it's basically doing exactly that. It allows you to take a picture of a receipt, and it'll automatically split out the cost. You can then set, you can give different costs to different people. It includes the tax calculation, the tip calculation. So yeah, let's try running a scenario with this actually. Right now, you can see here, there's absolutely no information whatsoever. So I'm going to go into the codes tab, go to scenarios, and run. Let's reset and run. Great. Let's sign in. And within the previews tab, Remy is always going to give you this developer's credentials so that you can actually just bypass the login. But you can see here that we actually incorporate login. So you can log in as a phone number or email, and just like any other signups with authentication, it's going to send you a code and users will be required to input that in. Let's see. Oops. Actually, this might not be the best example. One scenario. Oh, let's run this one actually. This will show up better. Okay, continue. In the meantime, let's see. Okay, so this new roster app that we're building, yeah, since the design agent is done, we could actually see what the design agent has produced, or I guess it's still running. But it's generating images, and what these images are include like some of these like icons that you saw for these other apps. So yeah, like reference wireframe, assets. Yeah, so it's creating some of these icons and as well as like the logos and share images. So yeah, let's see. Any other questions so far? Can we get some credits to play around with it? Um, let me send you a form. We have a form where you can request for credits. But in the meantime, yeah, that's not something that I will be covering right now. To use Remy, you will have to have a MindStudio individual plan. So that's $20 monthly subscription, I believe. And then on top of that, the credits are up to you. You are responsible for topping that up. For a non-technical founder, if Remy gets stuck in a loop trying to fix a bug, I can't jump into code to patch it, but I'm still paying for every failed. Does Remy have a built-in circuit breaker or debugging interface that detects when the agent is repeating itself so it doesn't drain my budget? Yeah, so that's a great question. And I think something about AI app building is that there's going to be times where it reiterates and debugs, right? And that will be like, to a certain extent, that is going to be, unfortunately, the reality, or maybe not even unfortunately. Like, it's bound to happen, whether it's a human engineer or an AI engineer. So that being said, I personally think, based on my personal experiences, that Remy has a lot less of this like reiterating the same type of like debugging, just because it has that context and all the. Let me show you if I can show you this. Like all these issues that it detects, all these errors, it actually gets sent back to Remy. So Remy has the context of all the error logs, and it can understand like what it did to patch it up, and things like that. So you can see in the deployment section too. It has previous releases, so it understands, it has the histories. So in that way, we're trying our best to have Remy mitigate those type of reiterations of the same debugs. But I think the reality of the fact is sometimes it might do it again, but you can always direct Remy to do less of that.
What is the website for Remy?
Sorry, what was that?
The website for Remy.
What is the website for Remy?
Yeah, because there are so many Remys out there.
Yeah, there you go. That is our website right now. Again, for people who are new to Remy is in beta, and so you're gonna see a lot of new features come up and a lot of new changes to maybe the interface or the design. So bear with us as we're building that. But regardless, the functionalities, the capabilities of Remy is not going to change. So highly recommend you guys to try building that out yourself. Great. And actually, something I want to show you while we wait, we continue to wait. Oh, and we actually see here, the design agent is done. It's created this beautiful aesthetic brand. It's created some of these other design assets for me, and it's gonna all compile it eventually into that design asset later on. Great. Something I want to show you is a different app that I built, and I think this is the most powerful app that I built. So, to give you a quick context, I am a avid volleyball player. I like to play volleyball in my free time, but also what I like to do is I love hosting volleyball tournaments in New York. I don't think there's enough of it. That being said, I have been so disappointed about the way that volleyball tournaments are run. It's still very much Google form. You sign up and register your team, but then separately, like when you're keeping track of scores and you're like reffing each other's games, you're doing pen and paper, and then they submit it to me as the host, and the host has to then, input it into a Google Sheet, create all these formulas, or try to put it into ChatGPT and create a playoff bracket that makes sense based on the set wins and losses, like the round robin scores, the point differentials. I can get really deep into it. So I decided to create an app with Remy, a tournament app that honestly I was thinking about actually going to market with this for pickleball as well, if there's any pickleball players out there. Um, let's wait for it to load. But I think this is really cool because this will show you an example of a user facing role versus an admin facing role. And I've built I built it so that the admin can have a separate dashboard view where they can make all these edits, change the settings, whereas the user only sees what they need to see. The really cool thing about this is also the fact that it's incorporated so many features, not only registration, technically payments, liability and waiver forms, text blast features. So, Particle or Luma has those text blasts. I can do that on this app so that all my tournament participants can also get announcements, right? If it's time for the next game or something like that. So yeah, this is the On2 tournaments. And what's really neat here is also if you're keeping score, you can actually score this match and people can view the live score. So let's say like I'm the team that's going to play after this game. I can keep track of the score that's happening so that I make sure that my team isn't late for when it's nearly over, right? But yeah, really, really cool stuff. Let me show you how the roles work. So, you could see here that there's a default role and the administrator role. So now I clicked administrator, and so I can actually sign in to the admin and I can continue as Remy. I think I can just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And yeah, you could see in the admin, you can see that all the different tournaments that you have. You can actually see all the different teams who have signed up. From there, you can toggle, you can edit the names, you can confirm that they've paid or that they've signed a waiver. It generates me a pool actually based on, so here we have what? We have 8 teams. I've set the setting to 12 pool games, and it's going to generate me these pools. It's going to generate me a schedule, and I can keep track of all the scores that's happening. And then once the pool play is over, I can also set up a bracket, and it creates this playoff bracket assigning each team to the proper position. I can make announcements, and the nice thing about these web-based apps, they also can still utilize your phone's notification system, right? So remember when I talked to you about you can add apps into your iPhone, just almost as an in-app. It actually, you can connect to the notification setting as well. So if I send an announcement out, people actually get a notification on their phones. Yes, I see that we have 2 questions. Chris,
Hi.
you want to start first?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I've got 6, but I'll be quick. All right. The first one is, when is Remy going to be out of beta? Because it was first alpha, now it's beta. The thing is, we're spending money on these apps, and I want to put the things into production as soon as possible. But if you're still in beta, why don't we just wait until you're in production? So I'm just trying to get a sense of, when are you actually going to be live?
Yeah, great question. We don't have a finite set date yet for when we're going to go live, but so you will be the first to know, though. I assure you. We will make sure that we post that and we blast that everywhere, so you'll know when. But I will say that we are moving very quickly and trying to getting this out of beta, because I know not only yourself but other people have been itching to get this as out of beta product that you can then start building on. So. That being said, you can definitely start, you saw that Stripe integration. You see there's already people who have spent a ton of money building a full-fledged production app on Remy, right? And they've actually deployed that to their teams already. So all that to say, like, yes, we're in beta, which means we're going to release new features. We're going to, have a more concrete pricing strategy, like pricing plan and all that. But in the meantime, it shouldn't stop you from being able to build these robust apps.
Okay. The next one was the cost screen within
Yes.
Remy. Is that, I mean, I haven't been able to kind of find, how do you, so is that part of the, okay, so that's already there. Because I was using the old MindStudio to be able to look at the usage in terms of the cost. So is this kind of new?
Yeah, so this is something for specifically the individual app, right? So you can still use the original MindStudio way for now at least, but you can also go into the dashboard and check out the performances and the analytics. I wish I could show you guys this analytics page. Mine is empty. So Lewis, I don't know if you have a full analytics page, but this also, like, I think what's really neat is, I used to have to connect with an app called Plausible to track traffic into my application, right? Like see how many people are actually using my app, how many people are staying on my app, and like how are they using the app. We've provided all that also in the dashboard, so you can keep track of that. You have an AEO dashboard as well to see like how much AI crawlers are on your app as well. So all this analytics stuff, someone with an analytics background, this is a gold mine. I no longer have to find these like third-party solutions and subscribe to these other apps. I can just go right in here and it tracks that all for me.
Yeah, I was using Google Analytics to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So that's great. The next one is, do we need to use a verify code for all of the apps that we build?
Sorry, what do you mean by verify code?
Well, you know that you put in, every time you go to the Remy app, right? You have to put in that 6-digit code or whatever it is.
You don't. You don't have to. I think that is what Remy does usually by default because, for security reasons, right? But there's other apps that I've built where, that's login doesn't have logins and it doesn't include that at all.
Right. So it'll just go straight to the landing page if you like.
Yeah, exactly. You can tell Remy that explicitly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to piggyback on that real fast, the Go Remy page, goremy.ai, is a Remy app. So it is a public page. There's no authentication.
Perfect.
Yeah, that is a Remy app. So you don't need to have authentication on your apps.
Yep.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
And I can go show you briefly after the questions. I have an analytics page that has a little bit of data in it, not tons of data, so I could show that later.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thanks, Louis.
Sorry, I just got two more. The design. One thing I've noticed, these designs are a little bit changed, but previously the designs look pretty similar. When Remy puts out the app, so I can tell you if it's a Remy app because, pretty much the roadmap and the pitch decks, they all look pretty much the same. Can the design be influenced directly through Remy? Is that something that we should be doing? I know that Dimitri in the past has said, no, you should leave it alone, let it do its own thing. But I'm just concerned about the look and the UX of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if you have a very specific design direction that you want to take it and you have a vision, like by all means tell Remy, and Remy is going to take that to the design agent and it's going to take that into consideration as it's designing. I think what Dimitri is saying is you don't need to come in, like it's not a requirement to come in with a very specific vision, right? Because we have this design agent that'll give you that inspiration. And hey, who knows, maybe you first give it to the design agent and then maybe you don't like it, or maybe there's parts that you like and you don't like, and you can iterate on that by asking Remy, hey, this part is great, but let's change this. Go back to the design agent and the design agent will fix that up.
Josh, what you're saying sounds great, but man, the costs start racking up, right? If you start doing that, so you don't really have the luxury to
absolutely.
Kind of experiment.
So Chris, I think that is actually a great point. let me go on a really quick tangent here. A lot of people have come to me specifically too, saying, "Hey, Remy is racking up my tokens and it's expensive."
Yeah.
But the thing is, we're not. If you're here to build a static website, right? Let's say I would actually discourage you to use Remy. I would tell you, hey, use Lovable. Like that is a great way to build static websites. I think what is unique about Remy is we're not trying to advertise or promote Remy as, hey, this is a really cheap like prototype building platform. This we're trying to promote Remy as, or we are telling you that Remy is a production grade building app platform, right? And what that means is it will cost money and it will seem very expensive. But even with this, I think I left it, but this tournament app, I just checked, it was about $360 to build a full admin page and a user facing page with live scoring, all that. 360, yes, it feels expensive, especially if I'm bootstrapping it. And some apps might even go up to $1,000 depending on how much iteration you're doing, right? But if I take a step back and I'm like, hey, if I try to build this without Remy or I would need to hire an engineer. I would need to hire a designer. I would need to hire whoever else, like a marketing guy
Yeah.
or person. And I think that racks up a lot more. Also, like that doesn't even consider the cost of the value of time, right? So
No,
that's
no,
my
you're
little
right.
tangent. Yeah.
No, that's fine. And sorry, I know I'm hogging up at the time a bit. The final couple is well, I'll go to the main one really. Local bills, right? So you said it was you need internet access. So does that mean that you can't actually create a local build at all to run on maybe an Android? I know that Apple is. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think. Can we run? Can we create local apps, or does it literally have to be a PWA internet?
I'm
I've
trying
lost
to.
you
I'm
guys.
sorry. I'm
Yeah.
no. I'm trying to frame your make sense of your question. So bear with me. Does it have to be like a web-based app?
Yeah, yeah. Does it have to be? I mean, because literally all that stuff is great, but if I don't actually have an internet connection, then I can't use the app at all.
I see. I
If you,
see. Lewis, confirm if what I'm saying is right, but I do believe right now it is all web-based apps.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it runs through a sandbox.
Right.
Yeah.
okay, all right. So, and then the final one was I don't know if the custom domains. It'd be good if you could just demo that if you've got time, or is it still on the
Yes.
agenda?
No, that thank you for reminding me. I've been going on so many different tangents. Um, yeah, let me show you guys the custom domain. So the domain is gonna live in your dashboard. You can also tell Remy, hey, create me a domain, create me a domain. Every Remy app that gets live is gonna have two domains that you could set up. First is this raw domain that looks very ugly. I highly recommend not sharing that with people. And then you can create this more cleaned up domain that's under the madewithremy.com, right? This is free. We automatically can make it for you. Just ask Remy to do it. Give it a name that you want for your URL. Finally, you can actually add your own domain. So if you have your own domain, at the top right here, you can add domain, use your own domain, and put in the domain name. Obviously, you're gonna have to go and make sure that you actually own the domain. So keep that in mind. But once you have that ownership, then you can make that connection here. Great. Chris, if you don't
Okay,
have any other
sorry.
questions, I'll move on
Sorry,
to Aman.
put my hand. No, no, I'll put my hand down. Sorry, did you
Great.
cover that? Or maybe I missed it. So to actually add the domain, what are we doing here? Are we adding a CNAME to a hosted site that's already been purchased, or
Yeah. Here, I'll show you.
okay, cool. That's it. Excellent. So you're putting in the values there.
Yep.
Publicly. Great.
Yeah. So, or it creates the values that you can go back and put it in. Yeah, and you could see that the status is like this is not my domain, right? Like I don't own MindStudio.ai, so I can't. This is just as an example, so it's waiting for the DNS. But like once you've connected the two, then yeah, it should show up as live.
So
But, sorry, I
this would
can't
be
show
the
you this right
information
now.
that this would be the information you're putting on your hosting site for the DNS.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool.
Sweet. All right, let's move on to the next person, Hamad. Thanks for
Yeah,
waiting.
just a quick one here. Yeah,
Yeah.
it works. It was pretty informative. A lot of questions. But yeah, it's like a two-part question. Can
Sure.
we export our current code base, let's say from Claude, Lovable, other places, onto Remy and start building off from that, or do you recommend me, or do you just recommend in general start the app off Remy right
Yeah,
away?
that's a good question. I mean, in theory, yes, you could drop the entire code base, I guess, to Remy. I would probably advise you to just prompt it and see where it goes more so because who knows? Like I can't imagine the code base would be the most like Remy might be able to build a better code base, right? For
Yeah,
example,
yeah.
not saying it will, but it might, and it might bring in other considerations that you might have not thought of. And if you bring in an existing code base directly and put it into Remy and ask it to build based on that, this happens with Claude Code too. It'll run into a lot of these like. I think you'll face a lot more debugging situations.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you just recommend just directly go. I was just because, because of the whole cost consideration. I was
Yeah.
like, should I just start it from scratch, or because I've already
Right.
built on Remy before,
Right.
and this was gonna be my second project, but I just wanted to like kind of clear out. But yeah, no, I'll give it a shot again on Remy.
Yeah. And I know there's some people who I've talked with who've used Remy who came in with more detailed instruction and prompts. And what they've done is, uh, for your example, you can, ask Claude or ask ChatGPT and be like, hey, give me a rundown of this website or this app and write me like a pretty detailed like instruction or
and
prompt.
then move that over
And then
to
move that over.
yeah.
You could
Got
you
it.
could try that. I'd be curious actually to know how that works or how that
Yeah.
performs. So
That's a
It
good
works
idea.
pretty well, actually.
Yeah.
It works pretty well. I mean, that's what
oh, nice.
I've been doing. Yeah. I actually, because it's interesting. It knows about Remy, so you can ask Claude or whatever to provide you with the detail of what Remy would prefer in terms of a spec, and then you generate that, and then you can use that as the basis for Remy then to generate its own spec. So it's like crazy, but it works really well. Yeah.
No, I love that. I'm also reading through the chat right now, and all of you guys have tried that out, and you guys are becoming power Remy users. So I love that.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll give it a shot. Let you know how that goes over the weekend.
Yeah, please let me know. I'm curious to hear.
Get your credit card ready. I spent over $1,500 on that. It's crazy. Great fun though. Great fun.
Yeah, we I don't know. I believe Dimitri has shown this in the past in other calls, but and he's posted it on LinkedIn. Is there we track obviously like who is spending on Remy, right? And like we can see that there are people spending thousands of dollars to build 1 to 2 apps, and they've actually gone to market with it. And it's astounding to see like what you can do now, right? I've talked with several PMs who've been using Remy and or product managers who've been using Remy, and my biggest question to them is always, okay, Remy does the design, the code, the infrastructure. What are you doing now, right? And a lot of the product managers' answers were, honestly, when I first started using Remy, that's where I got stumped, and that's kind of where I got scared because it was doing my job for me. But then they would say, it really frees up the time for them to think more strategically of not I need to build this, but why am I building this, right? Who am I building this for? And so I think that it really does free up a lot of time for you to actually do the things that AI can't. Think more deeply and strategically and more intentionally about what you're building and how you can make sure that you can go to market with it successfully. You can get it to the right users, the ICPs, and things like that.
Josh,
That's just my
just
little
while I
tangent.
remember it, just while I remember it, I mean,
Yes.
what I've been looking at on Reddit and so on, one of the biggest things that keeps coming up is around, the security and the fact that I think that some of the tools forget. You go down a specific path, and because, like you say, it doesn't have a spec, it
Mm-hmm.
kind of itself in a twist. So I don't know. Is there anything that you can share with us that stresses the relevance and the importance of how Remy kind of deals with the security aspects, the database, and all that kind of stuff? The sort of things I keep seeing on Reddit kind of concerns me. Would you say that the spec, the
Mm-hmm.
detail that you're giving the spec, would basically covers all of those leakage type of issues that keep to be surfacing a lot of the time on forums like Reddit, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and so on?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, that's part of why we want this spec-driven approach is because then you also have an understanding of how it's building and configuring all the different features so that you have, honestly, like I'm not a cybersecurity guy, right? So like, but if I had a teammate who's in cybersecurity in my organization, I can show them the spec and they can go through the actual like configurations of how it's doing the security aspects. And spec is just a very much easier way to understand that. So yeah, rest like I think all that to say like yes, the spec is also there to help make sure that all the proper security is set up, that um, Remy has that and is cognizant of that. That being said,
Got
like
it.
all yeah, we're again bringing over the SOC 2 and GDPR compliance because we are building this on top of the MindStudio infrastructure we already had, right? And so in that way, the same security and trust that we've had previously, it applies here as well. And we have that trust page that I can send over again.
Yeah, I think it's quite neat because you're updating the spec as you go, as it makes changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah. One thing I noticed with Claude, it runs out of the context window, so it forgets that it's done certain things. And it's like you have to start a brand new chat, and then you have to load the old code that it's generated to remind it of what it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't done that, if you haven't saved that code to be able to load it back into a new
Mm-hmm.
chat for a new context window, you've lost everything.
Exactly.
So what you've done with the spec is brilliant initiative, right? So it's quite clever.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, before I forget, that actually, I don't know why that reminded me, but we have some quick, what is it? What is this called? Quick functions here that you can do for your chat if you want to like clear the conversation, tidy up the code base, or like compact the conversation. I think these are smaller but like still helpful ways to um, you know clear the context window, which might help actually reduce some of that token spending for you guys, so keep that in mind as well. I think the other important thing if we're talking about like token spending is yes, Remy will be uh, relatively more expensive than these vibe coding tools, but if that is really a big concern for you, you can always change the models to a cheaper model. um, we'd have Claude as default, but you are more than welcome to change that as you need. We suggest Claude as the default and keeping it to Claude because this is what we've tested it on. And I know I've said this before, but in case there's people who hopped in late. So yeah, you can change it, but we've tested most of our things using our default settings. So highly recommend keeping it that way.
Is there any agentic support in Remy?
Sorry, what do you mean by agentic?
Right. So I know you've got agents which you've defined as agents because they're actually building out the app. right?
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense. What I'm thinking about, you've got operational agents. So, I'm the CEO and I want work to be done by the marketing director and the sales director. So each one of those are individual agents. You with me? So, that's what I'm saying is you define the role of an agent that works within the app itself, as opposed to the creating of the app, like what you guys have got.
Sorry, you're trying to deploy agents in the app? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you want the app to contain agents which will carry out responsibilities. So just think about
Mm-hmm.
you've got employees working in the company. It means
Yep.
I don't actually have to have a sales director. I can have a sales
Yep.
director agent, right? Which is basically all the tasks and job descriptions and everything else. And then you just duplicate that as a cookie cutter with different roles and
I
responsibilities.
see. So part of the like app that you build, you want like these create other agents within that app that does specific functions, right?
Yeah. Once
Um,
you've done it, then you want them to carry out specific tasks
yeah,
relating to their role, right?
absolutely. Yeah, that is possible. So short answer is that is possible. Um, yeah, and I'm just hold on. I'm trying to see if I can find something. Yeah, this is a good example actually. This is something I couldn't show you with the roster app. But you can actually see the current release for you more technical folks. It includes the build logs, and these are all contextualized by Remy. So again, when I mentioned previously, like if there's errors that it hits, Remy is gonna be aware of that and understand that. So it has that context of the errors it previously hit, and as it builds its next release, it will make sure that it doesn't do the same thing. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
let's see what this
still
builds.
trying to get my head around, if you've got, say, there's a marketing problem or a logistics problem, then you should be able to map the roles and responsibilities down to that specific like employee agent. Is that something that you can really do within Remy? Because it's not procedural, it's not task driven, there's no real workflow. You're trying to, define the roles and responsibilities and get the AI to carry out tasks on the back of it. So, think open claw.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's possible, or,
Um,
or,
sorry,
or would that
could you
be.
repeat that question?
So just think about, you've got an organization, right?
Okay.
Within the
Mm-hmm.
organization, you've got different functions. You have a finance function, you have a sales function, and so on. So you want the organization to carry out tasks
Right.
based on functions, right? So if you've got an invoice that is due to be paid,
Mm-hmm.
right, you want that agent to take care of the invoice. So, and there might be different things that happen relating to the invoice, right? So it's
Right.
not like it's following a flow. There could be some edge cases that it has to deal with, but the responsibility lies with that agent to resolve it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what.
I see what you're saying, which is why
Yeah.
you're bringing up OpenClaw or like the Hermes agent.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that's actually that's a great question. That's something to think about in terms of like I do think these are two different things that we're talking about. Like Remy is used so that you can build a full stack application and a platform, right? Hermes and OpenClaw is trying to be kind of that like agentic chief of staff for you that does
Yeah.
tasks
Yeah.
in your stead, right? That being said, like I think there are definitely things that you should use OpenClaw for instead of building an app on Remy. Like I know, Dimitri has shared about his Watson agent. And that Watson agent leaves comments for you on like LinkedIn or Twitter or X, makes posts for you or like email, like responds to emails. And I think those are great use cases for agents or like the Hermes agent. The app is something more that we're used to of like, hey, let's get my entire team to use the CRM tool, right? And then you know,
Yeah.
who's to say
Okay.
you can then connect your Hermes agent to that platform or that app to then like help it write the responses back to, let's say, LinkedIn or X or something like that.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, John put it into chat. I am building a platform in Remy that will call in a Hermes agent to feed some of the agents. Yeah. So yeah. Just food for thought. Not saying that you have to do it this way or you have to do it that, but yeah, that was the good thought starter. Um, okay, I know that we have 10 minutes left. And yeah, it looks like our app is still building, and this is honestly not out of the ordinary. It does take Remy to a little bit longer to build stuff. Rightly so, because it is taking into consideration of so many different features and context. So what I am gonna do is once I build it out, I can share it with you guys of what it's built, so you guys can actually take a look at it. Maybe I can do a video recording of the full back end of like the spec, the preview, and all the other things that it's created. This was also before like people hop off. This is also like the first time we're doing some sort of this like build from scratch live stream. So really appreciate you guys just sticking it out and for your patience on some of uh, these processes. I think like we're gonna continue to do these if possible, and you know every session is we're gonna get better at it. So I think one thing is I'm gonna start next time actually deploying the app first so that it can run in the background as we're talking about all these other stuff. So I think that'll be actually very helpful. But yeah, I'm glad that you guys came. I'm glad that we were able to just chat through some of these Remy features. I hope that this session was very helpful in finding out some of the features that might have not been so like widely publicized. We're gonna continue to build new features on Remy, so please be on the lookout for that. You can see here that like there's a lot of things that are still coming soon that we're really excited about. The sharing is going to give you like marketing assets for you to share your app to the public. We're constantly working in fixing some of these interfaces, so appreciate all of y'all's patience on that. And finally, again, Remy is in beta, so as you're building, if you have any feedback, you run into any bugs, please go up here into this like connected tab, and you can send feedback. Every feedback you send over, Sean, our CTO, takes a look. So, like, this is really helpful context for us. If you send praises through feedback, we also read that. So, if you do want to do that, please, by all means, go for it. But yeah, if there's no further questions, I'll stick around for a few more minutes if people want to stay on and like just talk or ask more questions. But this will officially end it here. Thank you guys so much for joining. And please be on the lookout on our Luma for our next events. We're doing a Hermes agent walkthrough with Dimitri next week. We'll have some more of these like quick Remy sessions as well. And yeah, if you have some cool Remy apps, please share it with us. I love testing out new apps. I love seeing the creativity that people have. We have like our separate Remy product hunt called Debut. So if you want to upload it there, please by all means do that as well. But yes, I will share the recording after this. So no need to no need to yeah, take notes, I guess, if you have it, if you happen. But yeah, that's all for me. I'll stick around and answer any questions. So yeah, thanks guys, and have a great weekend.
Josh, you still there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay. A quick question. You know the when Remy's working, does it still,
Yes.
all of the workings, is that still visible to end users, or is it not
To the
visible?
end users, or
Yeah.
what do you mean by that?
So I guess all of the build stuff everything that you're
Mhm.
building is you see everything working, right? But once it's finished and deployed, there isn't any branding, MindStudio, all that kind of stuff. Does all that stuff go away, or is it? I
Yeah,
don't think so.
basically, well, if I'm answering or if I'm understanding your question correctly, if the end user is only gonna see the final form of the app, right? You're not
Okay.
gonna actually they're not gonna be able to access the back end of it unless you've given them your Remy account login, I guess, or you've built that into the app, which I
Got
can't
it.
see why you would. So yeah.
Is there any limitation? So if I wanted to, so I haven't tried this yet, but Remy can play YouTube videos, um, MP3 files directly
Mm-hmm.
with it within
Exactly.
the app.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Think of for those of you who have used MindStudio before, think of all those features and capabilities have all been integrated into Remy. So if you want to use, let's say, like 11 Labs for like AI voice narration, you can totally do that as well. So all that is integrated into Remy.
Is there additional cost for the hosting of that? Say, it started, loading up videos. Is there kind of any restrictions on that?
No, I mean, loading up videos as in like, for example, this website, right? We have embedded YouTubes, right? That shouldn't come at an additional cost, actually. Yeah.
Okay. So when you play the videos, there's no cost associated,
No.
right?
What I'm guessing the Remy did, and you know, don't quote me on this, but most likely what Remy did here is a simple iframe. It's just an embedding, right? So just like you would on Wix or any other like website building app.
Okay, cool. So it's just doing the iframe. It's not actually consuming. It won't actually cost you anything because all the costs go
Yep,
back to the creator, right?
exactly.
So anybody using anything which is LLM associated, that cost will come back to you.
Hmm.
Um, so you have to be very mindful in terms of that subscription policy to make sure that you cover your costs, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Lovely. All right, I shall let you go. Thank you very much. It's been brilliant.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
Take care, man. Bye.
Bye. Yeah, happy to stick around for another few minutes if other people have questions. But
Josh, I have
um,
two
yeah.
actually. One,
Yes.
when it comes to ownership, so with what you created, are you really like the full owner of what you created in terms of the app? Like you could do whatever you want with it, even if you want to like sell it to someone else?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I guess so. If you want to sell your app, I guess I mean you would have to work out the details of like being able to share the back end of all that. Like does that mean you share them the MindStudio account or like
Mm.
let them or download the code base and send that over? But like that's totally up to you. But all that to say, yes, you have full ownership around that.
Okay. Okay. And then with one of the comments you just made about the kind of the marketing assets,
Yes.
is there a time frame on that, or could you go into that a little bit more, what we could expect to see?
Yeah. I cannot share that, mainly because I don't have a lot of context around that. So I'm also waiting anxiously to see what Sean, our CTO, is gonna cook up for us. That being said, I am actually, and this is like a sneak peek, one of the newest apps that I'm building on Remy is called GoTM, and it's basically kind of like what Debut does in terms of like highlighting your apps like product hunt, but more for go to market. You put in your Remy app URL and it starts creating a whole go to market strategy for you, including like writing out creating some assets, writing out some like Twitter posts or like LinkedIn posts for you. It gives you kind of like a ranking of should you do paid ads, like give you a go to market timeline. So, you
Mhm.
know, I'm interested to see how Remy builds this.
Okay, when is the ET on that?
um, maybe next week. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see how much I decide to sacrifice my sleep to build this.
Okay. I won't make that request, but I'll wait for the announcement.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll
Thanks.
make sure to share that to you
Yeah, please.
separately.
Please. Believe me, you're gonna have me working this weekend in advance of that. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to take a look here. In the meantime, if anyone else has questions, feel free to just turn your mic on and let me know. But I'll just click through this go to market app that I've been building. So it has a dummy data with this Square Up app I built, the check the receipt picture app, and basically it's created me a positioning and messaging. Um, it's given me like my ICP or what it thinks my ICP should be, the competitive landscape. So it's given me like a breakdown of my competitors, the channel strategy. So it thinks I should go more on short form content, then Reddit referral invite, launch sequence. So it's giving me a sequence of what's the best steps to take for marketing this. It gave me, actually, this is surprising. I didn't even ask for it. It gave me a pricing strategy. So this is great. Like I wasn't even thinking about how would I monetize this app. And so this is good context to have. And I made this to look like the Remy interface. So you could actually edit this doc as well. And then it has the chat box feature. But I didn't want to copy it right too much. So I put it on the right side. SEO keywords, and then it also has some of the assets I was telling you about. So like it's written me up some of these like thread posts or X posts, product hunt, cold email, landing. It gives me a calendar, and I could generate more of these if I want. So,
Okay. And is there like a traditional media aspect built into that, or would that be separate? Like, because I'm thinking more along traditional things of like who I would want to write about it, who I think would be most interested in it, because that's like my background. So is that built in or
right now, no.
That's
that's a great that's a great idea though, and maybe it's included in the roadmap.
okay.
So yeah, I'll have to take a look. Honestly, this built yesterday. I built this yesterday, so like I haven't really taken a deep look into it.
All right.
Sorry, Josh, Gord here in Vancouver. That go to market. You said you just built that yesterday.
Yeah, I built this yesterday.
And then what did you throw at it? Like, what did it? Did you throw the pitch deck and other stuff from one of your other products, like the one that you did? Sorry, I didn't quite catch the beginning.
Yeah, no, yeah. So it asked. Actually, Remy asked me for some URLs for apps. So I literally just dropped this Square Up URL, like squareup.build with Remy.ai, and
Right. Yeah.
it was able to understand that.
And so then it said, okay, here's what you developed, and then here's some go to market considerations, etc. Right?
Yep, exactly. It I guess took a look at the app itself, and then based on that, it had an understanding of like what the app is doing, and so then it could do all this research for me.
And then those 7 different areas, did it come up with that? Yeah, it's funny because when I was doing it during the hackathon, I did it. I did it the reverse. I was using Gemini, and I said, okay, here's what I think, blah, 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 blah. And then that's what I fed into Remy, and it said, oh, here's the app you want to build.
Interesting,
right? Huh. And then the pitch deck had all the stuff that the research that I had thrown in through Gemini, or that Gemini found out, right? Like just competitive stuff, blah blah blah, right? So, it was interesting the scenario or the sequence that you did, because this would be almost better. You can almost just brainstorm,
right?
And then it'll give you the viability iteration. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and it's funny if you guys would you I mean it's yours, but would you consider putting the Go TM as part of like you got pitch deck, you got all the other stuff that's kind of the standard.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like a pitch deck's fine,
Yeah.
but if you had a son of the vision that's like, okay, here's if you decide to go through it, here's what the go-to-M is.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're saying, like is it
As a
possible to
feature
have other
within Remy.
assets? Yeah, I
Well,
think. Oh,
yeah,
within Remy, yeah, I think that is what Sean is actually building with this sharing tab here in the dashboard. Um,
right.
but I don't have much detail on it yet, so like don't quote me on that. But yeah,
No,
I
no,
think
no, no, no.
that's the idea of like we want to give you more than just a pitch deck. We want to give you assets that you
Right.
can actually share, and that's what we're gonna do.
Because it adds depth
Mm-hmm.
to the reasoning and the depth
Yep.
to the pitch deck.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah. Because like right now it's a little bit. I don't. There's not a criticism, but it's like okay, I say okay, here's my silo over here. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Here's my other silo, etc. And then
Exactly.
I bring it in and converge it.
Yeah.
So that is sweet.
Yeah, and no, this is yeah, and I mean I'm building these out half because I need it, half because
Yeah.
I'm trying to see what Remy can do, right? Constantly seeing like what Remy can build. And honestly, like what I really like about this app is that, put it in the context of, let's say I work at a big company, right? A big corporation. Like I can give this to my team and they can each have, it doesn't have to be a Remy app. We can put in a different one feature of our company or something, and it builds out this for each and every team. And like, so if you think about this in like the enterprise way too, right? You build out apps for your team or organization. They no longer have to rely on these third-party SaaS products that, you have to figure out a way to fit your team into the SaaS product. Now you can build SaaS products in a way that fits your team. So it's like a reverse way of thinking about it.
Well, it is, and because what happens is the decision is usually made up in the C-suite, right?
Exactly.
But the gatekeepers, traditional legacy gatekeepers, are the tech, and so a go-to-market item like what you just outlined gives the logical operating issue outside of the tech, right? The business areas, the reasoning to go to it, saying all of what you just talked about, and that's the switch now that's happening. But because it's technology based, it's a very slow to get through the various speed bumps and gatekeepers, right? And as a former propeller head myself, right, like when I used to code, I can say that it's not a derogatory thing. It's just the evolution of the embedded processes that are within, especially enterprises, small and medium sized.
Yes.
Not so big, right?
Yes.
But the layers of like, oh, we got to get a steering committee meeting. Yeah, we got to do this.
Yeah.
Do this. And it's like, speed.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Speed. That's right. Oh, this is actually cool. This was one of the roadmap features that I asked it to build, and I haven't actually taken a look at this. It created me a TikTok script. That's cool.
Oh yeah, that's really awesome. Yeah.
Interesting. Anyways, any other questions?
I had one or two in the chat, but they probably got buried. Quick question about the recording. Will it be available next week or this weekend, do you think? Because I was like,
hopefully within 24 hours.
Oh, that's lovely. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then I can avoid the sunshine. It's outside.
Yes.
Build. Okay. Actually, the other go-to-market item I was just thinking of, because Dimitri's soliciting businesses for beta testing, an organization for beta testing.
Yes.
That helps with the sales approach within an organization too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I attended a event in New York a few days ago, and it was about like go to market and AI, and it was these head of BD, head of growth,
Yep.
whatever, and they were talking about like, honestly, it was a little bit underwhelming. They were like the questions about AI was very much, oh, we use Claude or GPT to fix our emails or write LinkedIn posts, right? Or like
Mhm.
scrape LinkedIn profiles of people, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, that's cool, but like, what if you equip your team with being able to have this level of functionality? Um, yeah, I feel like they missed that part, and I think like there's still a lot of opportunity here for people to play around with beyond just a chatbot interface, and yeah, hopefully Remy is that solution for people.
Well, I think that it's barbell right now. So there's this at the very top. It's like, oh, we got to do something with AI, and so then they cast their
Yeah,
VP of technology to go do stuff for their
yeah,
transformation, change management people. And then
yeah,
there's the heaps of shadow AI that's going on because have individual drivers like, oh, I got to get home, right? I want to go to
yeah,
lunch. Yeah. So
yeah,
the real opportunity, I think, is that in the middle. It's like an hourglass right now, and
yeah,
I think that there's heaps of opportunity. And so in the middle layer where the managers have to report up and they also have to figure
exactly.
out how to solve things down lower for their staff or with their
Yep.
staff, that's where the gold is.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is exactly why, Dimitri and our team has been now reaching out to pilot this at the enterprise level, right? Or like mid-enterprise level. Because I think there is a lot of value here that in being able to now like building is no longer the barrier, right? It's yeah, if anything, anyone can build now. So figuring out like what to build and why is gonna be more important.
Yeah, actually, and one of the things that when I was noodling yesterday in Gemini, but you guys could do that on your go-to-market one, actually. If it was internal, you almost want to have uh, FAQs for the CISO,
Hmm.
right? Like if you
Hmm.
had FAQs for the CISO so that their objections that come up around the board table are already answered
Yeah,
in some respects. I mean, obviously your whole document that you guys already have up
yeah,
with respect to the trust, that helps.
for sure.
But application specific would be really good if you're trying to deploy it in Azure or Google
Hmm.
Enterprise.
I'm seeing James's question about FIFA.
Josh, are you in Toronto already?
No, I am going to Toronto Monday. So I'm in
All
New
right,
York right
nice.
now. Yeah, excited to meet some folks, meet a bunch of
I'll be
people.
there.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
Hey,
Hey,
it's not
you
as
can
humid in Vancouver as it is in Toronto, and we've got sunshine for the next 7. And it's on the way back to if you just do counterclockwise, you can come in on the way back to San Francisco.
Oh man.
Always welcome.
I'm based out of New York, so it'll be a big clockwise.
Hey, Jess, when are you going to be in Toronto? I'm in Toronto.
Oh, no way. I'm going in on Monday. I'm going from Monday to Wednesday. So I'm gonna meet Danielle there. We're doing a happy hour on Monday at a bar, I believe, and then Tuesday we're doing a quick little. We got invited to do like a quick Remy pitch at an event. So
Oh, okay. Where do you know where the meetup is? Like, I think
yeah, it's on Luma. Hold on, let me send
okay.
it over.
It's somewhere by the well or at the well, right?
Yeah,
Pennies.
my understanding of Toronto geography is very minimal. So
Actually, it'll be a nightmare to get in because the World Cup.
I
Right.
heard. I heard.
If you're downtown, it'll like for me, it's an hour to get downtown, but the World Cup, it's like 3 days, unless you're doing it at 4 a.m.
That's true. Yeah, we'll see how that we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's supposed to be casual. Like we don't have strict agenda. We mainly just want to meet you guys and yap a little, talk about the cool things you guys are building. And I'll also be bringing my camera, so if you're not camera shy, please come interview with me.
No, for sure. Yeah, I'll definitely be there if I can.
Yeah, sounds good.
What
You
are
guys
you
have a-
building, John?
Huh?
I was just asking John what he's building.
Oh man, I've got about 8 projects on the go. I've got one I posted, but I'm looking for beta testers. And what it builds is it's called Distill, and it takes any kind of idea or video or course, and you can mix and match, and it's crazy what I'm doing. So I'll take like GitHub repos. I took, for example, Dimitri's thing he did on Hermes a couple days ago, and I took his GitHub repos, and I said I want to build a platform for all my Remy apps, and I want to connect to Hermes agents, because some things I just want Hermes to get all the stuff that the apps need, and I want you to do it so I don't have to do it. And Remy's like I said in the post, it doesn't like to say no, it just finds a way to do it. So
We love
I'm
that.
just
Also, John, sorry to cut you off, but good timing. The roster app finally built, so it's giving me a presentation right now. Just want to flash this before we call it a day, since that's why you guys came to this call. But yeah, I don't even know what this is gonna look like, so I'm curious. Right, let's get the presentation. As cool as it is. Okay, so here's the final app that it's built from the beginning of this session. It's given me a Kanban board to track prospecting, outreach, the phases, as well as I can add in new deals. I can add the filters, and all this like interface design is not something that I've instructed it to do. It's figured it out what's the cleanest way to do it. It's giving me a table of all the content creators that are in, and mind you, this is all dummy data, right? So deal value, you can edit it, it creates a side card that you can then add more details to. Roster. So yeah, this shows again the roster in a different form. Definitely, we asked it to be pretty basic for now, but yeah, AI niche search. So you can describe the type of creator you're looking for in plain English, and you get candidates back. Previously, I had to use an app called Passion Fruit that helps you find new content creators. And it's not that expensive, but it is a subscription. Now I can do it on my own without having to pay for that. I just have to pay maybe like a couple cents to run the LLM. Relationship timeline, brief generator, so it creates a sponsorship brief. That's pretty helpful. Slack notification, so actually that would be very cool to have like updates on deals and things like that if I need to share to my team. Great. But yeah, that was cool. Happy to share this app to you guys if you guys want to take a look. Obviously, like this is doing one pass. I haven't actually chatted with Remy and iterated on it, but yeah, if you guys want to check it out, I'll send it after this call with the recording. And yeah, I think we will close it here. So thank you guys again for staying on for this long. And yeah, if we do another of these live streams, please make sure to check it out on our Luma.
Sure.
Hey Josh.
Thank you guys. Yes.
Great, thanks.
Quick question. That meetup, it shows it's full. Is there any way to get on that?
Just get on the wait list. I think we're gonna open up some more spots in a bit, just between you and me.
Okay. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks.